going on, everybody? Hope you're all living a fantastic day today. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I gotta be real with you guys. I feel like I'm going absolutely crazy right now. Because for me personally, ever since this brand new update dropped for Battlefield 6, the game has been running perfectly. Yeah, there's a few issues here and there, you know, like netcode, for example, but when it comes to my game-to-game experience, it is, like I just said, perfect. But I swear, when I go online, it is like a whole different reality of what's happening right now when it comes down to Battlefield 6. Although my game is running fantastically, there's so many players out there who are reporting that this update absolutely butchered the experience for them, and it is ruining the overall game. So in today's video, I wanted to highlight a lot of these problems to bring some more awareness to the issues going on right now within Battlefield 6, so hopefully the developers can continuously polish off the overall experience. And again, I know a lot of you guys as well, just like me, are having zero issues, but still, just because we are having no issues doesn't mean others are not running into anything crazy that's happening right now. So, you know, of course, try to be polite down in the comments section. I know it's going to get, you know, really riled up between people saying it's the worst game in the world, or, you know, people getting offended by people saying it's the worst game in the world. It's always some type of beef happening. But as I stated, everybody always has a different experience, and it's good to bring awareness, even if we aren't specifically running into these exact problems. But, of course, ladies and gentlemen, before we go ahead and dive on deep, if you guys are interested in more content like this, don't forget to subscribe to that bell. Post twice here, once at 8 a.m. Eastern Time and a second time at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And we also go ahead and stream Monday through Saturday over on Twitch, starting at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Of course, if you guys are interested, go link that channel down in the description of this video. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before we go ahead and dive deep into the biggest issues happening for a lot of players within Battlefield 6, I saw something else over on Reddit which I thought was hilarious. It's a bug that I want to bring awareness, you know, to the developers. Hopefully they can get it patched up, but it was so freaking funny. I saw this by 8-Bit Bongo saying, apparently, this can happen if you get killed in the pool. And it's this is probably one of the funniest things I've seen in this game. This man is absolutely whipping around the map right now after dying within this specific area. And it's not too shabby though, because as we already know, a lot of the medics don't really care about picking people back up. So, and I see a lot of people in the comment section saying, you know what, I can just take myself to them then. And the sad reality is, even if you take yourself to them, they'll still probably completely ignore your body. They won't even recognize you. It's kind of crazy how unaware a lot of people are when they're in the Battlefield experience. I can't blame them though, because Battlefield's a very hectic, you know, game, and it's always a ton of stuff just overloading your senses. And it's also weird because I always see people saying that it's a Battlefield 6 specific issue. Oh, people don't, you know, use teamwork in Battlefield 6. It's too much like COD. That's something I don't really understand because, let's be real here, ladies and gentlemen, since the beginning of time, players have not given a crap about teamwork within Battlefield. Yeah, you get those moments where it happens, but come on now. You know, the meme of medics just running past you without defibbing has been in this franchise for ages. You know, it's nothing new. It's just another day of playing the Battlefield experience. But with that bug out of the way, let's dive deep into the major complaints from the community. As I stated, you know, I really do feel like I'm going partially crazy because, like I said, the game runs great. I mean, you could just see it in the background footage. It's always nice and crispy. All my streams, you could, you know, watch hours worth of gameplay, hours worth of footage of me just going back to back to back into the Battlefield 6 experience, and everything is nice and smooth. But as I stated, I don't think this is normal though right now. Of course, you guys can let me know down in the comment section what your experience is looking like. But when I go online, pretty much all the posts that I see look exactly like this one. This is a post by Electrical Phone. And again, like I said, I'm not trying to single this person out because there are hundreds of other posts just like this one. But it's just, you know, higher up on the Reddit board with hundreds of likes. But it says, Dice, you've embarrassed yourself. This last patch is a joke. How'd you guys manage to make the entire game worse? I read comments earlier in the day about issues, but man, they weren't exaggerating. The controls feel stiff all over again. I can't put my finger on it, but it doesn't feel fluid. It's sticky. Rubber banding is absolutely insane along with the lag. It's the worst I've ever experienced. Inconsistent hits, both giving and receiving. Players are walking through walls and reappearing. Players appear from behind cover only to one-shot you. Plus, I'm getting shot through walls. It's ridiculous. And as I stated, yeah, it might not be happening to me, but I've seen enough players complain about the same exact topics to, you know and understand that it is something probably going on within the Battlefield 6, you know, world right now after this recent patch. I don't really know necessarily before this patch, but something, I guess, kind of kicked in. I don't know what kicked in, but something happened to where the experience is getting a bit buggy. I'm hearing a lot of players complaining about how the controller feels. Now, again, keep in mind, they did tweak the controller settings a tad bit when it comes down to the AA. So maybe something is fishy here. And I personally play with a lot of, controller demons, controller players who are crazy at the game, maintaining 4, 5, 6 KDs. And I talked to these individuals, and they're slowly getting more used to it, but I think they all are kind of on the same page that it feels different, you know what I'm saying? And it took some time to readjust and, get their settings back to something that's comfortable to them. The thing about it is I don't think they went back to their original settings, because keep in mind, pretty much almost everybody's settings, besides mine actually, my settings didn't reset, but a lot of players' settings reset. So you had to actually manually go through them all again and put them back to what they were before. But it seems that a lot of controller players aren't happy with what they were before. They feel very strange, and, they have to tweak them a decent amount, and even after tweaking them a decent amount, they're still not really satisfied. And I find it interesting that this individual said it feels sticky. Maybe it's something to do with the AA buff, because that's what they did. They buffed it up to make sure AA, I think, was kind of like the beta, which was a tad bit stronger. So I don't know, maybe they went a little bit overboard with the AA. Maybe something bugged out when they touched upon it. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not a game dev, so I don't know all the details or what would cause a bug like this, but I'm just trying to throw out some solutions to, hopefully help the devs, even though I'm no help, I know, but still, getting the word out there about this issue. And, throwing out results is the best thing that we could do. Just saying, this is bad, rah, 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 it's never helpful, right? It's good to throw these things down, and even if you don't know what the heck you're talking about, as long as you're respectful and you can still present issues in, like I said, a respectful way, I don't think the devs are going to think you're a moron, you know what I'm saying? They'll take that criticism, and they know what's going on. They understand, the fundamentals of game design, and they'll be able to work our words into basically what's happening behind the scenes with the overall experience. So that's what I'm thinking. It had to be something with the AA changes that is making the controller play a little awkward at the moment. And as Electrical Phone, mentioned as well, and many other players, again, Hitreg and netcode has always been a topic. I will say, yes, it's an issue, but it's so much better than previous Battlefield games at launch. And I will stand on this ground, and I will not fold on this one. Battlefield 6 is one of the best launched Battlefield games in a long time. I think it's between Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 6. Typically, these Battlefield games take a year plus to, polish off and make sure it works properly. This is not that bad compared to some of the rubber banding and, bullets ghosting and stuff that we have dealt with in the past, in my personal opinion. But it's still there. It's still a problem, and it still needs to be fixed. But a lot of players are reporting after this update, the hit reg is feeling a little off. I'm going to be real with the guys. I have no clue what solution I could throw out there to, help resolve this one, because I don't know. The controller made a little bit of sense since they messed with AA, but hearing that the netcode feels worse than ever is a bit worrisome. It's not happening for everyone. Like I said in the beginning of this video, my game runs great. You can even see it in the background footage. I never get players ghosting through walls or freezing or, bullets bending. Sometimes the bullets will bend, but it's on a very, very, very rare occurrence. You'll barely ever hear me complain about it while I'm streaming for hours just playing the game and having a good time. But like I said, just because I'm not experiencing this or you guys are not experiencing this does not mean everybody who is touching Battlefield 6 right now is not running into an issue when it comes down to the netcode and performance. I'll be real, I think it comes down to the servers. Something has to be going on right now when it comes down to the servers that Battlefield 6 is running on. Because it doesn't seem like it happens every single game, but maybe it's throwing people into different regions consistently. I've noticed that happening to myself as well, where it'll just, randomly take me out of NA lobbies just for absolutely no reason. There's plenty of players online, it'll be peaking at 200,000 players on some days, and it's throwing me out of NA. Why? You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's because of the launch browser. Maybe that could be potentially it. Because obviously, if you are being very specific with the game mode that you want to play, like let's say you want to play Conquest on Eastwood, and that's all you want to play. Instead of going through all the maps in a rotation, having all the game modes selected, you just select Eastwood on Conquest. That's it when it comes down to the search browser. Maybe when you do something like that, it makes it a bit harder to find a match, and sometimes they'll, take you out of region just to be able to fill that order. I don't know. Trust me, I have absolutely no clue. I'm just trying to throw some ideas out there, but at the same time, I want to bring light to this topic because it seems a lot of players online are running into heavy issues when it comes down to the netcode and also how the controllers feel when it comes down to Battlefield 6. But ladies and gentlemen, please, I'm begging you, go down in the comment section and let me know. Are you like me? Are you experiencing no issues? Is the game running smooth as ever and this update is just making it better and better? Or am I going a little crazy right now? And that's not the reality of the situation, you know? Maybe that is just a very rare occurrence for me. And the majority out there might be running into massive issues when it comes to everything I just listed. Please go down in the comment section and let me know what your overall experience is, because that will really help kind of, pinpoint what the issue might be, because it could be anything, especially when it comes down to the netcode and servers. It could be a lot of different stuff. So the more responses, the better to figure out what the heck is going on right now. But ladies and gentlemen, as always, if you enjoyed today's video, leave a like. If you hate it, leave a dislike. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell. Post twice here, once at 8 a.m. Eastern Time and a second time at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And also, if you guys are interested in my live streams, I do stream Monday through Saturday over on Twitch starting at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Of course, if you guys are interested, I'll link that channel down in the description of this video. But as always, thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you all next one. Peace out.